It's August 2016. I'm preparing myself to lead the first Friday prayer in the Mariam Mosque in Copenhagen. I'm putting on my scarf and my national Syrian dress, a galabia, that I got as a present from my father, who is a political refugee from Syria. It's the very same dress that I'm wearing today. My 4 children are watching me. They know that something is at stake. They know that today a group of activists are writing history because this very same day, 2 women will lead the prayer for the first time in Scandinavia's first mosque with female imams. My youngest daughter, Halima Mariam, who is 5 years old at that time, has a friend visiting our house. It's a Danish girl, non-Muslim, with light hair and blue eyes. And she whispers into my daughter's ears, "What is an imam? What is an imam?" And I will never forget the look in my daughter's tigress eyes when she says out loud with a proud voice, "Don't you know? An imam is a woman who's doing great things." The story tells us that it's possible to change a narrative or a concept that has been male-dominated for decades into the mind of a 5-year-old child within a second. And she's absolutely right, Halima, my daughter. Female imams is not a new phenomenon. We have female imams in China since the 1820s, in South Africa since 1994. The great female Muslim scholar Amina Wadud, who is a great inspirational source to me, she led the first Friday prayer in New York in 2005. We have female imams in Germany, in Köln, in Hamburg, in Berlin, in UK, in Switzerland. And in Morocco, the state educates 50 murshidats, religious teachers, every year in order to combat the growing radicalization. And female imams is also not a reformation. We are going back to the sources. We are going back to the roots. In the very first house mosque in the Islamic civilization, that was the house mosque of the Prophet Muhammad in Medina in year 600. We know of at least 2 women who led the prayer for other women after the death of the Prophet. And there's also a very famous story where the Prophet Muhammad appoints a woman named Waraka to lead the prayer for her household. She had her own house mosque. And where do we find these stories that are left untold? We find them among many places in the works of Ibn Sa'd, a historian from the 8th century. He wrote a biographical lexicon called Kitab al-Tabaqat al-Kabir. It's a biographical lexicon consisting of 8 volumes. The 7 volumes are only about the men who followed the Prophet in Medina. And the 8th volume is only about the women. And it is within these 8 volumes that we realize that women in year 600 had many and varied roles. They were warriors, they were teachers, and they were female imams. So what happened? How come that we have normalized patriarchal structures within our religious institutions, within the society, within the family? How come? There are various reasons, and one of the reasons is the fact that the second caliph, Omar, in 634, forbade women to lead the prayer for other women, and he told the women to stay in their houses and that the prayer was not obligatory for them on Fridays. They could pray in their houses. In Denmark, we had the first female priest ordained within the Protestant church in 1948. And they were met with a lot of opposition. 500 priests, male priests, protested against them. And we were also met with opposition in the Maria Mosque in Copenhagen, because when you change a structure, you change the power balance. And of course, it's natural that you will meet opposition. We were prepared for the opposition, but we chose a very clear strategy not to talk about the opposition. So we chose a strategy that was about telling all the good stories, about the Grand Imam who came all the way from Indonesia to bless the Mariam Mosque. He prayed in the mosque, and he even quoted one of my inspirational sources, the great reformator within Islam, Ibn Arabi, who said, "The perfect man is a woman." But I want to share with you the inner opposition because it affected me and it affected my life and my journey. There were two men that I did not tell that I would be one of the female imams in the Mariam Mosque. I told them that I would be the woman behind the mosque. And it was my father and my husband at that time, both because I knew that they would worry, and also because I knew that one of them, that was my husband, that he would disagree. So my father had a phone call from Syria, from a family member who said, "I just heard on the Syrian news that Sherin is a female imam in Denmark. This is impossible." And he called me and he said, "You have to denounce the title. You cannot call yourself a female imam. It's not possible." And my father is a feminist. He said, "You have to wear the scarf not only when you pray, but all the time, and you have to be able to recite the Quran by heart, all of it." That was his criteria. But I knew that it was a cover-up because he was worried. My husband at that time, he asked me to choose between my family and the ambition to start a mosque with female imams. I think that a lot of people, they want the revolution, they want the changes, but they just don't want their daughter or their wife to be ahead of the changes. When you start a mosque with female imams, you often get the question of legitimacy. From where do you get your legitimacy? And I will reveal to you that our legitimacy is based on exactly the same as male imams' legitimacy. It's based on theology. It's based on the needs in our society, and of course, on knowledge. And if we look at the needs in our societies, we, as spiritual leaders, we have to find Islamic solutions to existing dilemmas in the youth. And because of that, we have developed 9 theses of reform in the Mariam Mosque. 7 out of 9 theses are already implemented in real life. And the 9 theses are, of course, Muslim women's right to act as female imams, to enter the mosque, to lead the prayer, to give the sermon, to disseminate new narratives on Islam in Europe based on gender equality. The second thesis is Muslim women's right to divorce, Muslim women's right to interfaith marriage, a fight against female genital mutilation, a fight against any kind of hate crimes towards minorities, including homosexuals, a fight against the growing anti-Semitism and the growing anti-Islamic rhetoric and propaganda, Islamophobia, a rereading of the Quran with a focus on gender equality, promoting Sufism, the spiritual path in Islam, and promoting Islamic pluralism, and of course, fighting the patriarchal structure, the patriarchal readings of the Quran, the patriarchal practices. I would like to introduce you to 2 acute themes in the youth today. And it's 2 of the theses. The first one is women's right to interfaith marriage. I have 4 children, as I said. I have 2 girls. Today they are 7 and 14 years old. What are the chances of my 2 daughters growing up one day and falling in love with a non-Muslim? It's huge, because we live in Europe. We live in Denmark. The father of my children, who is a great father, he would argue, and he still argues, it's not impossible, Sherin, because I, he says, have raised my children so well, so they will not even think about falling in love with a non-Muslim. Are you laughing? They will not even dream about falling in love with a non-Muslim. And this point of view, it's not rare. You find it among religious Jews. Religious Jews are not allowed to marry outside Judaism. You find it among religious Christians and religious Muslims. So, in the Mariam Mosque, I have conducted more than 30 Islamic marriages within the last 2 years. Half of them are interfaith marriages, and right now we have 15 couples on a waiting list. They come from Denmark, Norway, Sweden, UK, and the latest couple came from France because they could not find an Imam who would bless their Islamic marriage. In the Quran, it is stated clearly that a Muslim man can marry a Jew or a Christian, but it is not stated clearly that a woman can marry a Jew or a Christian. And it is not stated that she can't, and because of that, we use that as our legitimacy. Everything starts in the family. The family is a lottery. It's a game of chance. And we do not choose our family, but we have to allow the future generation of young people to choose their partner for love, for life. It matters. I was born with a Finnish Christian mother, an immigrant, and a political refugee father from Syria. They managed to combine Christianity and Islam, the village and the city, east and west. But unfortunately, me and my ex-husband, we did not succeed in unifying our different ways of looking at life, and therefore my children are struggling today to combine these very different worldviews. The second theme was the theme about divorce. Today, Muslim women do not have the basic right to divorce because male leaders around the world took out the right to divorce of the contract. So we have constructed a new Islamic marriage contract that gives women the right to divorce. Polygamy is forbidden. If mental or physical violence occur, the marriage is annulled. And we also made a fusion between Danish legislation law and Islamic guidance. So if you're divorced according to Danish law, you are immediately divorced according to Islamic guidance. But there are women out there who cannot get an Islamic divorce and are trapped in psychologically abusive or violent marriages because the husband refuses to divorce them. And they cannot find imams who will give them the divorce because the husband refuses. So we conduct these Islamic divorces, and we try to standardize our contract, and we try to make other imams reconsider giving women the right to divorce. My 2 boys, Salahuddin and Jibril, they are 9 and 10 years old, and they love to play chess. They play chess as an evening ritual. And I asked them recently, do you know the meaning of checkmate? In Danish, it's called skakmat. And they said no. And I told them that the word checkmate descends from the Persian shah-mat or the Arabic sheikh-mat. And the shah, the sheikh, it's the ruler, it's the king. And mat in Arabic, it means dead. So my daughter Aisha, who's 14 years old, she looked and said, "Be aware, Muslim brothers, the sheikh is dead. Long live the female imams." Thank you.